Hi, welcome everybody. It's a strange way of doing this, I do apologise. My name's Chris Sands. I'm from Totally Locally, which is I've been running for 10 years now as what we call I call my an unreasonable hobby, really. I'll put a present. I'll go through the presentation first, and then there's loads of time for questions. So if anyone wants to put some questions to me or anything like that, we can do. We've had a little bit of a technical hitch just before this, so we're in a little bit of flux at the moment. So I'm just going to try and get the screens up again. And see where we are. If you do apologise, I do apologise for this. Give me 2 seconds. Is there a way of seeing my screen at all? Okay, brilliant, thank you. So, right, let's start again. So I'm Chris. So I don't know if you're aware of Totally Locally, but it's something that that's having quite a big effect on a lot of independent high streets across the UK, and it's all volunteer led, so it's a bit unusual, and I'll just run through this presentation. So my company is The Good Company. I always say I have a day job. So my day job is this: I work on brands for place, particularly place. So I'll work on a lot of landscape projects, and I work on Peaceful in Halifax for its reopening, big sort of projects like that. And I get to work in Australia sometimes as well, which work with Regional Development Australia on projects around people and place and connection to place. So Totally Locally is one of those projects that I started about 10 years ago. So this runs alongside my own business. So it is what we call a grassroots people-led high street movement. So it constitutes really a free open source marketing kit for any town to download or use. I'll go into the reasons how that came about a little bit later. And it's a strategic brand campaign, the sort of stuff that I've done over the last 20 years. I've worked for some big multinationals and sort of regional businesses, and I wanted to create this thing that I think small shops don't get that opportunity to use this sort of stuff, usually constrained by budgets, but also constrained by time. So the idea of creating a strategic brand campaign that runs over 2 years, that for small businesses, was a thing that I was really keen on doing. So it's just like the big guys pay for. It's free for you to use and muck about with, and add it for others. We use this phrase, the economics of being nice. So we basically say, if you come up with a good idea, put it in the pot for everyone else to use. So it's basically reconnecting communities with their high streets and towns. So the kit is basically for small businesses and volunteer groups to use to reconnect the people that live in their town or near their high street, and it's a tool for them to reconnect with those people by showing them that if they use the local businesses, the place they live gets better. It's simple as that, really. So we've got loads and loads of material, and my whole background, I say, is in marketing, advertising, branding. So we have a lot of things like this. This is the thing that really has sort of taken hold over this last few months. A shop like your high street depends on it, because it actually does. And it's a step-by-step guide from. So when you download the kit for your town or your group, it is like a step-by-step guide. It goes through how you start everything up, how you start a group together. We have a big thing around no rules, how you run right from that very first meeting right through to big events, and it really is, and it's free, totally free, 100%. We don't even ask for your email if you don't want to give it. So sharing our intellectual property. So we have 3 main elements to it. We have the Totally Locally Town Kit, the one I've just told you about. We have Fiverfest, which I don't know if you've heard of, but I'll go into that in a minute. And recently we've just been working on a project to take independent high streets online. So like if you want to shop in the town where you live or on the high street where you live, you can go to one place and buy from all the independent shops. It's okay? Sorry? Yeah, okay. So there's... Yes, yeah, has it not come through? Oh, you're joking. Bear with me a second. I can...
It might be worth just trying to reshare.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. I sorry about that.
That's not your fault. Max and Sherry.
It was okay. Let me. It's not. If I try now, it's only sharing. No. Okay. I really do apologise for this. I don't understand. Let me show it. Let me try again. No, it's not letting me. No, it's not letting me share, unfortunately. It's sharing it'll only share a web browser, but not a. No. It's not. No, it's not allowing me to share the desktop. Yeah, it's a desktop. Can you see that desktop now?
Oh, you see the presentation.
Sorry, I'll start again, then I'll run through the slides a bit quicker. I do apologise. Right, let's go. It's the whole thing of Teams and Mac, that's what we say. Okay, I'm just gonna view full screen, okay. So again, this is me, that's my company, that's what we are. Find that way. So yeah, reconnecting communities with their high streets by showing the communities how using local businesses makes the place to live better. So, and this is the phrase we use, shop like your high street depends on it, because it does. I'm just trying to get this to go full screen. Full screen, here we go, okay. Is that still showing okay?
I can see that fine.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, right, so we're back to where we are. So we just recently launched the independent high streets online, so that independent shops in a town can all be in one place, so people can buy from them, order and click and collect, or order, and we're just working on a joint delivery system through electric cargo bikes. So Totally Locally started here in Calderdale, which constitutes 6 towns across a fairly wide area, all very, very different. The famous ones are Halifax and Hebden Bridge, and maybe Todmorden coming up the way as well. All really different, and the council came to me and asked me to do a shop local campaign for this area, and I came at it in a big way. So they were expecting, I would say, Calderdale were expecting at the time a really little, call it the tick in the sticker window. So it says shop local with a tick, and and everyone's going to change how they shop. So that's what they're expecting, and I turned up with a 72-page strategy document on how to engage with the public for over a 2-year period. And it started with this message, which has gone viral, and has been changed a lot by lots of different people. But this is where we started. It was basically, was if every adult in Calderdale spent just £5 a week in their local shop, independent shops, instead of online at the big supermarket, it will be worth £40 million extra a year going into the local economy, which means more jobs, better facilities, and a nicer place to live. So reasoning behind that is pretty simple. It was a lot of people used to say, I'd love to shop local, but I need to use my supermarket. And it's using the psychology of marketing. It's, well, you don't need to change everything. You just do one tiny thing, and with one tiny thing, you get a big effect. So one small act of spending £5 a week brings 40 million into the local economy. And at the end of it, we just say, which means more jobs. So what's in it for you? Get more jobs, nicer place to live. And that sort of went it went viral very, very quickly in the area, and lots of people started talking about it. And it was also followed up by a thing what we call the magic tenner, which I'll jump into a bit later. And the magic tenner is basically through the New Economics Foundation did a study, and they worked out that if you spend £10 in a local business, the way that the money goes round and round in the economy, because most small businesses use many other small businesses in the town or the high street, that £10 is worth £50 in the local economy. It sort of depreciates 84% each time, but it still carries on. A huge difference to buying from a multinational or buying online from outside the area. And that concept came from my local farm shop, which is called Craggy's. I was speaking to Andrea one day, and we worked out that she had 33 local suppliers, which I didn't know when I used to go in there every day for my sandwiches. So we started thinking about that as a campaign, and then we took 2 of those suppliers and went to them and asked them how many they had, and they had 22 each, 21 and 22. So it's Carl that makes cheese and Lottie that makes cakes and bread. So if you think about that, on that first level alone, there's 600 businesses hanging across that, across from Craggy's. So if you imagine going up another level, you're up to you're into thousands, and all of a sudden you start to build these huge spiders web networks of all businesses that are interdependent on each other. So the average we've found is sort of 19 to 20. The average local shop has 19 to 20 suppliers, and we include window cleaners, and we can include accountants and all those sorts of things. So that money that you spend in one shop goes to all these different businesses, and it keeps local economies thriving. So it's like I always say it's a bit of a piece of work that could be really looked at. The most we've ever seen is 79. One tiny little cheese shop had 79 local suppliers, which is quite astounding, really. And I did ask Charlotte, I said, what happens if one shop like Craggy's goes under? And she said, it affects my business so much, we have to basically just keep looking after each other all the time. So with those 2 things, there's lots of other things around that, which I'll come to in a minute, but it had a massive impact straight away. And people in Calderdale actually did change their shopping habits. And the press coverage was absolutely crazy. I think from a £10,000 spend, we had £160,000 worth of press in the first week. Really went crazy. It was on the news, on the TV, it was on the radio and everything. And it did start to change people. And it worked so well, and the coverage kept getting bigger, that I was asked loads and loads of times by towns across the country, said, could you come and do it for us? So I tried to do that, when the first one was in Helensburgh near Glasgow, which, if you know your geography, is about a 4.5-hour drive from here. And it sort of got a little bit too much, and it wasn't what I started out to do this for. So we tried it, but it really did get hard, and then the demand got bigger and bigger. So my friend Nigel Goddard, who I worked with on this, he said, why don't we just give it away for free and see what happens? And so we did. And put it online and built it into this kit, like a step-by-step guide, as I was saying, right from the the stuff that we'd learned over 2.5 years of running this campaign in this area and with a few of the pilot towns, like Leek in Staffordshire was one of those, and Crickhowell as well. But it was like a step-by-step guide, taking all of that knowledge that we got and all that experience that we had about working with businesses and pulling them all together, and we put it in. So if you download the kit, which is about to be re-released after a redesign in about the next couple of weeks, but if you go into that kit, it's here's a flyer to start with, here's how you get people interested, here's your stuff for your social media, here's how you put your first meeting together, here's the house rules, and all those sorts of stuff. And it goes all the way through, and then it has a timeline for all these campaigns. So you can probably just sit on the timeline with what we provide for around about 18 months to 2 years to really start to bring together a cohesive set of people that can start to run things in their town. And it's basically, it is more nearly always just volunteer driven. And the one thing I mentioned at the bottom, they have a peer-to-peer support network, which is honestly it's just a big closed Facebook group. So we've got about 1,000 people in one closed Facebook group from all over the world. So we've got people in Australia, New Zealand, some people from France. We've just today had some people from Belgium join as well, which is nice. 6 towns in Belgium are about to launch this. So it's not your usual government-led initiative. It's basically a collaborative bunch of people who love their town and want to share it with others. So share their town and share their knowledge as well. And we always say there's no rules apart from one, and we use this on everything. Be nice or leave. And that is the crux of the whole of this thing. It's been dubbed the economics of being nice, and that's what we call it. There is some rules. There are 10 rules, and they're really tongue-in-cheek and really basic, but it just comes down to that. We encourage no minutes. We encourage no chairman, because it just gets in the way. So this is just a bunch of people saying, let's try this, let's try that, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Nobody's there to give you dressing down for it. It's about people just doing it, no permission needed. And the whole thing about this as well, one of the problems that we have quite often is that a chamber of commerce would like to run this, or somebody that's just is an inclusive group that doesn't, sorry, an exclusive group, so that doesn't involve everyone in the town. So what we say is you can't run it like that, but if you want the town kit and you're a chamber or something like that, or even a council, you need to be working with some other groups, and you need to demonstrate to us that that you're working with them, because the minute that you exclude somebody, you might be excluding the best shop in the town, and it starts to cause risk. So this whole idea of working together and is where it all sort of stems from. And the one thing we say as well is that if somebody says this is rubbish, I'm not getting involved in it, I'm not interested, and then when they see it working and they come to you and say, actually, can I be involved? You have to say, yes, of course you can. You know, come in. And it starts to build cohesive towns. It's about encouraging others, and it's the economics of being nice. So that £5 message has spread. This is some of the stuff that you're using. So you can see some of the templates being used here. Again, they've just been slightly updated, but you'll see that there's Penrith, Burnt Island, Teddington, and there's just a few of the towns using the kit in the past. Again, it's changing all the time. We've just got loads more about to start, and it's spread a very long way. So we have one town in France called Valogne-la-Juelle, which I was privileged with myself and Mark, who I worked with at the time, had a nice 3-day visit too, and they've translated the kit into French, and that's available for everybody to use as a French version, because we always ask that if you do something with it, that you put it back into kit for other people to use. It's in Gulf News on Waiheke Island which is just off the coast of New Zealand, off Auckland in New Zealand. And I like that because it's the furthest point on the world, where there's no further point from Britain than Auckland, so that's quite nice. And I actually got to visit there with my brother, and as we got in the car to get off the ferry onto Waiheke Island, there was a car in front with a sticker on the bumper that says, "I'm going totally locally Waiheke Island." And that was a bit of a moment for me, really thinking, wow, it spread that much. So this Geraldine in New Zealand have done some really great stuff, and you can see a little bit of a culture difference of a very hot Christmas. And there's Udunda as well in South Australia. There's loads of things, and these people all join in with the conversation. So there's over 100 towns in the UK have used the kit. We actually have, so we've not had the kit available for about a year and a half now, just by trying to update everything and change things, how social media has changed and everything. But we have a waiting list of over 200 towns waiting to use it. So we're actually going to be piloting it in the next couple of weeks with 5 towns, the new kit, and we're going to be monitoring that and see how it all goes. So the material's been translated into French, Welsh, German, Polish, all by volunteers, because they want to do that. And the Facebook group, people have become friends on the group, which is really nice. One of the things I really loved was the guys in Teddington had done a really beautiful colouring sheet around the town to give out to children. And the people in Waiheke said, "We really like that. Can we have a copy to change for us?" And the guys in Teddington said, "Of course you can, we'll do it for you." And then so the next day, there was children in Waiheke Island colouring in stuff that was made in Teddington. So really, really nice way of working. So you go back to that £5 message, and as part of the original campaign I did for Calderdale, we created a thing called FiverFest. So it's classic marketing is you got people to go, if you spend £5, it makes a big difference, and then you make it easier for them to spend the £5. So we basically got all the towns, all the shops in the area to put on a special £5 offer over a week, and that was called FiverFest. And then it really had that impact, and it also nailed home that message of spend £5. And we use that now and say, well, you know, we really appreciate the fact that you've spent your £5 a week, so now we're going to say thank you by putting on these special offers. And it's a really great thing that's sort of, it allows you to hang like a festival on the back of it, or anything that you want, really. So it was individual towns to start with. It was originally Calderdale, but then it became, as towns used the kit, they did the FiverFest themselves. But in 2019 we started our first national FiverFest, and I sort of knew that this was going to go big when I did it. And we started off with 40 towns, and it grew and grew each time. So we're on our 5th one now. So the last one was in October last year, and I had 130 towns across the whole of the UK just putting on these special £5 offers, and it went absolutely crazy. And this is the thing we put together. But basically, we created a national event with over 130 towns taking part, from the Isle of Wight to the Isle of Harris. Tens of thousands of £5 offers sold, massive community spirit, offers sold out, town centres buzzing, huge social media coverage, people discovering shops they didn't even know existed, and businesses recommending each other, and shops working together. We always say, when we do £5 offers, we say to people, don't just recommend yourself, recommend all the other people in your town or on your high street, because when you do that, it's worth visiting, a lot more worth visiting. So people are turning up with maybe 20 quid or 30 quid to spend, knowing that they can go and get 6 really great things. So it's all about the importance of shopping locally to make your town better. So these are just a few of the thousands of images that we get sent. It's just really lovely to see all over the place, and you can see them all using the same posters. We've got down a really good system now that we can so I've forgotten the word there for a second. We just basically just every poster to each town. So everything's bespoke to everybody, but we've got it down to a pretty fine art. This is the previous one, so we change it each time because, again, psychologically people get used to things and they don't. They tend to not see things. So each time we do a Fiverfest, we do a different colour and different designs and slightly different wording. And it's been huge, absolutely huge. The press coverage on the last one was featured on BBC Breakfast 4 times, on BBC One, BBC One News, Calendar, ITV, Scottish TV absolutely love Fiverfest, particularly Burnt Island, which is on the east coast. What an amazing bunch of people there, and they really go for it, and they're now basically the poster child for high streets in Scotland. So we had 137 press articles and 30. I had to do 36 radio interviews in 1 week, which was just exhausting. But such a buzz that a lot of it's really interesting. Some of the stories we get hundreds of stories coming in. But one I really loved was a butcher in Burnt Island who'd been there 35 years, and he had his busiest week of all in those whole 35 years, which is just amazing. And every time you see it, you saw that each shop promoted all the other ones together, so they work together as a team, and that's what we encourage all the way through. And then to celebrate Fiverfest, some of the towns even design their own £5 notes, which is just a really nice thing to do. Obviously they wouldn't pass very well as forgery, but you know, it's a great thing. And here's just a few things of, sorry about the image quality on that, but sort of some of the things that were sold on some of the first ones in Teddington. And you can see like 517 breakfasts, 59 beauty treatments, 132 scented candles. One lady, I can't remember which town it was making a thing called snoods, I think, which was like a cross between a scarf and obviously a face mask that you could pull up. And she did it this time, and I think she just got a completely new business out of this whole Fiverfest thing because she could not keep up with it. So you can see that it starts to make a big difference, and it's all about awareness as well. So it starts to create this awareness. It creates paths for people to walk. It creates trails. It creates people walking around the town with their eyes open and looking at what's there that they might not have seen before. The Fiverfest also spurned the Totally Locally Burger, which is one of my favourite things. This was also featured on BBC Breakfast and BBC News. And it was the Roebuck Inn in Leek. Right from day one, they were one of the first towns to run Totally Locally outside of Calderdale. The landlord there, he wrote the £5 message across the bar, and everybody loved it. And then he decided to see if he could make a £5 burger to celebrate that for one Fiverfest, and he sourced all the ingredients from 400 meters from the front door of his shop, of his pub, and so that created this burger. It was so popular that he just keeps it on all the time now, and it is really good, I have to say. You can see the landlord and the butcher and the baker there. One of my favourite things was I witnessed when we were filming for BBC that the butcher came in, and the landlord guy was saying, "Oh, I need to give you the money for the meat." So he gave him his 20 quid, and then the butcher paused and he held it in his hand and he just went, "I'll have a pint, please," and he handed it back. And that's what we talk about local economics. It's just about this whole money go round. And as part of Fiverfest and part of just everything else really, that people use these over and over for different things that they do. There's lots of maps being done. I put the Leon Sea one in there just because the guys that are working on the Leon Sea thing, I think it's a joint thing, I think, council and everything. But yeah, some interesting things, and there's a bit of, we call it map wars, who can do a best map really. And they're used over and over on different things as well. Usually it's a local artist that just wants to do it because they like I say, they love where they live. So really quickly in the kit, one of the things that's in there is the Totally Locally Manifesto. Like manifestos are quite common now, but 10 years ago they weren't. So we made this 10 years ago. It's never been changed, and in fact, it's even got the old website address on there, so you can see how long ago it was. And it's just taking those lovely phrases. It's all about starting a conversation. So live totally, slow down, be a tourist in your own town, learn the name of the person at the till. That particularly works really well. If you put it by the till, people tend to ask the person on the till what their name is. So it's striking up a conversation and making people rethink. They're not all that big, by the way. They're usually at half an A3 size, but people have blown them up absolutely huge. So yeah, and then that's been translated into, there's a Welsh one there, there's a Portuguese one. We also have a Christmas manifesto, and we worked with Bookish in Crickhowell. Emma, who runs Totally Local in Crickhowell, we worked with her to create a bookshop manifesto, and the Booksellers Association loved it so much that they printed them all out and distributed them all to every single independent bookshop in Britain, which is lovely. And that's all become sort of quite a nice thing, really. Some of the stuff that's in there as well is going back to the magic tenner. There's posters and everything to say, when you shop here, you support another 10 or 20 or 30 other local businesses who supply and work with us. That's in the kit. And then we recommend, I stole this idea from Amazon. If you buy a book, they say, oh, if you like this book, we think you'll like that one. So we went, if you like our shop, we think you'll like this one. And the impact on that is really big, because people are quite shocked when a shop will recommend another one, or a cafe recommends another cafe, or a butcher recommends another butcher, or, you know, a bike shop can recommend a butcher, whatever. But it starts to create that trail. And if everybody does that, you know, it starts to make a difference. After lockdown, we put these out. These were downloaded thousands and thousands of times. Again, going back to our economics of being nice, we saw all these posters that said, keep 2 meters apart, and that's it. So we say, actually, you know, we're a community and we care about each other, so please keep 2 meters apart, and we'll look after our most vulnerable people. So it's the conversational style. And welcome back to our high street, please be kind. And if you're in a queue, have a chat with somebody behind you, because they might not have spoken to anyone for a long time, and enjoy the slowness. So it's things like that. And we even have our own newspaper that you can download and fill in with your town and your stories. And it's a template that's ready to go, and it has some sort of standard stories that sort of talk about local economics in a fun way. Excuse me about that. Yeah, I'm talking about the spending the magic tenner and how £5 makes a difference. So they're all in there, and then you can fill it with the rest of your stuff. Shipstone Stour have done some huge ones of these. They're fabulous. And then we have the Declaration of Independence, which I'm quite proud of that as a title. And this came from a bookshop, I think. It was in Bedford, and they basically, I saw a poster in the window and it said something like, the tax we paid for half a year's training for a student nurse, and Amazon's paid for none. So this was, out of that came this. We started putting this together, and we worked with the guys in the group as well. So they said, what should we put on here? What makes independent shops unique? You know, and that's where it is. And saying thank you every time, saying thank you for shopping with us. And then there's a few more things in the kit there. There's loads more than this. I've just not had the chance to put them on there. We have a disloyalty card as well, which is like a loyalty card, but you shop elsewhere and then you can get a free coffee. Basically, it runs on the coffee like everything else does, to be honest. And that's just participating groups getting together and just sort of working out the costs at the end of it. Really simple stuff. That's on the website if you want to look at that. All sorts of things, really. So we just say to people, like, just use the kit, talk to other people about it, do something new, you know, there's a bit where you can follow. Towns tend to use the kit and then start to get quite brave and go, actually, look, we can do these things without asking permission, without having to wait for people to give us permission to do things. And just try things out, see if they work, and if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But if they do work, we ask that you share that experience back so that other people can learn from that. And then if that works with other people, we add it to the kit. So it's, again, the economics of being nice. And once they get confident, they do go a bit jazz, as we say. A good example here is my friend Leslie Adams in Brighouse, which is part of Calderdale. And nobody minds me saying it's quite an unremarkable town. And they started the Totally Locally campaign right at the beginning with us, and they did the Fiver Fest and it went well. And then Leslie came to me one day and said, I want to do a market in Brighouse and I want to call it the Totally Locally Market. Can we do that? And I said, of course you can. So we helped put it together. And everybody laughed and said, who's going to go to a market in Brighouse? So we did all local produce. We had 30 stalls. And 3,500 people turned up on the first one, and nobody could believe it. Everyone had sold out by 12 o'clock. And then that grew and grew and grew to the point where now it's done, obviously not during COVID, but it's done quarterly, and roughly 8,500 people visit. So they close the whole high street off, and it's helped to regenerate the whole town. It's having a huge impact on the town. Shop vacancy rates have dropped and everything, and now it becomes from that, the guys that run it, that got together behind Leslie, have now got they do a 1940s weekend, and over 3 days they have over 100,000 people. Yeah, so it really can. This wasn't done with councils. This wasn't done. The councils, the markets team, and obviously the highways helped out with this. But it was basically a lot of volunteers with a biscuit tin full of money saying, what can we do for our town? Really, really strong, really powerful, and it's helped to create almost another economy within the economy. And then the other one is Leek in Staffordshire. Markets are really good for this sort of thing, obviously. So Leek had Leek used to be called Bleak Leek. It's in the middle of the Peak District, surrounded by Ashbourne and Buxton. Beautiful visitor attraction towns, and yet every Sunday Leek was completely dead, and no shops open, no nothing. So the guys who were doing Totally Locally tried a little market that wasn't really sort of authorized, but they worked around the rules by putting stores outside shops and paying inside shops, which got away from it being a market to start with. And they tried it out, and they put 16 stores out on one Sunday when nobody turns up, obviously, on a Sunday. And it was really successful. So the council turned around and said, actually, yeah, you can have a license. And now that every fourth Sunday, now it's called the Totally Locally Sunday Supplement. So every fourth Sunday, the market comes to town, and they're all local producers and makers. There's 85 stores there now, and they have an average of 5,000 people visiting every fourth Sunday. And it's gone from being a day of no trading to the busiest trading day of the month in Leek. Really fantastic, all done by volunteers. And from that, there's been, I think it's 6 or 7 now, businesses that started on the market have now opened shops on the high street. So the vacancy rates dropped tremendously as well for a small town. It's dropped right, I think it was 15% and it's dropped to 5% now, something like that. And then Totally Locally, then it just goes, people go crazy with it. So Teddington had a Totally Locally World Cup. There's some merchandise by the Shipston guys. Lots of different things happen. It did a big thing in the place where I live called Valley of Lights, which I actually put together with my friend Nigel, and we had 17,000 people across 3 nights in our little town after the floods. and that was all based on totally locally again stuff. Yeah, there's just so many things that have happened with it. And Crickhow as well. I was approached by a TV company saying, "Do you know a town that's that's active community and dare do stuff a bit differently?" So we took them down to Crickhow, and they did a thing called the Town That Took on a Taxman, where they took all of Amazon's and the big tax dodging corporations and applied all the rules that they used to not pay tax in Britain and applied it to a small town and all the traders and see how far they could get with it. And they ended up on the Isle of Man, and they ended up in the Dutch, was it, I can't remember who it was now, but they went around and did the whole thing and then got right to the point where HMRC had to come in. Really interesting tale. If you can find it online, it's worth a watch. And then Leek did. The guys in Leek have done loads of things since. The guys that started in Totally Locally have done loads of music festivals and loads of celebrations. So it gives that confidence, and that's what this whole thing's about, really. And our latest thing at the moment is we were approached just before lockdown. We were approached by Visa to say, we talked about taking high streets online. This is where we're at the moment. The future of independent retail, of all retail, is a mixture of, without a doubt, a mixture of bricks and mortar and online. And there's just been a huge survey by Visa and by Shopify and all those, and they were saying that if small businesses are not online, not selling online, they will not survive. And that's where we're up to now. And there's a lot of businesses still sticking their head in the sands and going, no, it's going to go back to normal. It's never going back to normal. The pandemic's changed everything. And it's not going back. It's people now. Visa were working with us on this. They did some research, and it was 63% of people now will not visit a shop without looking online to see what's in there first. And there's bound to be things, I suppose, like in tourist areas, but browsing in real time is going to be a long time before it actually comes back properly. So the idea of being able to buy online, click and collect online, and stuff but also browsing is a big part of this. So we took Hebden Bridge, which is near us, and we took the town online. So we have 88 local independent shops all in one place, as this was our pilot. So if you wanted to support your local businesses, you could go to one place and buy everything easily. And it does what high streets do. You tend to walk into the high street to buy one thing, and you walk past other shops and you see what's in the window, and you might have a look in there, and you might buy something, and that might become your favorite shop. And so the idea of this is the same. So you can have lots of different, you come across different things, and been a really big success. During lockdown, it was really, really busy. It's calmed off quite a lot, but the strange thing for us is that the purchases have dropped off, but the browsing hasn't. So the stats are saying that people are still going to look to see what's available. And one of the towns that's been taking it on is it started off as Leigh-on-Sea, and then it's basically gone to Southend-on-Sea, so the whole area. A group of amazing volunteers, a group that consists of some volunteers and council people and businesses. Absolutely amazing set of people, and they've been putting this together themselves. So we provide the platform. This is a paid-for thing because we obviously the hosting alone is a fortune, but we've developed this with Visa. Visa had a remit to get as many small businesses online as possible, so they came to us with this. And the guys in Southend-on-Sea are just run by people that really care about where they live, and so I think they've got about 55 businesses on at the moment, only just being launched. I've got a little video actually I can show you. Just they do these little things. They've been amazing, actually. They've been more creative than we have. So you can just see this one. So you can see it's quite, yeah, they've done amazing. And what you can see as well is a big part of all this is that if you provide the brand for people, they can run with it themselves and create the new things with it. So they are, you know, I can't sort of say enough how great they've all been. So we're at the point now. We've totally locally where we've created over £10 million of press and PR for individual towns. We've seen groups change their towns for good, and we've won awards. This year alone, we were on the happy list of COVID heroes in the Independent, and we were the Big Issue brought us in as one of the top 100 change makers for 2021, which is incredible. And we call it, to go back to it, we call it the economics of being nice. I've got a book coming out in the next few weeks, which will be great. Well, we'll finish it off in the next few weeks. It's been going on a long time, but yeah, we're nearly there with that as well. And it's called The Economics of Being Nice. So, and I always end with this slide. It's one of my favourite quotes from Dr. Seuss, and it says, "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is gonna get better. It's not." And that's basically it. This is a kit for volunteers and businesses and people who care about where they live. Councils, I know there's quite a few councils on here. We tend to discourage councils from taking the kit on themselves, because the whole concept of this is that if volunteers do it, it's sustainable. Whereas if a council comes in and does it, people sit back and let the council do it for them. And when it starts to calm down a bit, they all say, "So what are you going to do for me next?" So the idea of making a sustainable version of this, I don't know what's going on there. I'll stop sharing. There you go. So if volunteer groups run this and run their things on their high street to make the place better, it's sustainable and it will carry on going. You don't need any money in it, to be honest. Quite often when people need printing, we just say, go to your local printers and say to them, "Will you do this for free?" And in exchange, they basically get to put on the bottom of the poster, so-and-so printers printed this for free because they love our town. And without exception, all the printers have managed to make a lot of money out of doing that by finding new customers and things like that. So again, it goes back to that economics of being nice and the whole idea of the money going around and around. I'm sort of at this point now where I can keep waffling, or if there's any questions, I don't know how that works, but if anyone wants to ask any questions, I'm quite happy to take them.